T.
Miss T.
Miss T.
Miss T. Miss T.
Miss T.
Miss T.
Miss T.
Miss T.
Miss T.
Can't wait for you to meet Miss T. She is the T in tea.
And welcome back to Sweet Tea Time. And today I'm talking about something that's very near and dear to my heart because it was my daily fight for many years. And it's about surviving survival mode. The pandemic taught me something extremely critical. Before the pandemic, there were pockets of people that, I worked with, and I was one of those people that lived every day in survival mode. What does that mean? That means every day you have to figure out how you're going to eat, how you're going to stay alive. The elements are against you. The environment is not conducive. It's systemic lack of opportunity. So it's not conducive for you to, have a better lifestyle. It's actually designed to keep you dependent on a government system. And so every day you have to figure out how to make it with not enough. Every day you have to figure out how to make it when there's no opportunities. And then every day you have to figure out how to make it when your actual demise is a possibility or your family demise is a possibility. I grew up in the height of the crack epidemic. A lot of our parents were falling prey to crack, cocaine, and there were drug wars everywhere. So just walking to school was, if you made it, miracle and a victory, because you could get shot. We didn't know what kid was going to make it or not make it to school every day. But you grow up knowing that you have to scratch, scrape, struggle to survive every day. And then the people that are put in positions of leadership over your life, they're dying because they're ODing and they're, stealing stuff and they're getting shot up just so that they can do this drug. So I know that there were a number of things that were introduced to the community that I grew up in for the purpose of, people not making it in life. So we grew up as kids with a mentality of, I have to survive somehow every day. And then I have to survive with access to, close to very little or nothing. And so lack was really a norm. And it brought us all, communally to a place where we stopped fighting for the scraps and started fighting each other for the scraps, if that, makes sense. And so it was really difficult time. And I won't say that it was only when I was a little kid. I went right into my teenage years and my early 20s living in this way. And so it wasn't until I spent a great deal of time studying, like I was in libraries and bookstores and, I didn't have the money to buy a book, but I found a way to to the books. And I knew that if I didn't educate myself differently or try something different, that I would live in this state for the rest of my life, the way my family had, the way my aunts had, the way my grandparents had, the way my great grandparents had. And I didn't see much graduation from this life and lifestyle. It's a hustle all the time. Every day was a hustle. And so I knew that I didn't want to do that, especially when I started having kids at a young age. I didn't want to repeat the cycle. You have kids, you get on welfare, and you hustle the system and you figure out how to survive. I just didn't want that. And so I started doing a lot of reading and studying, particularly on business. I just wanted, like, how do you how do you live like, these people that we see on the lifestyles are rich and famous? And one of the reoccurring things that you would see in those sorts of shows was these people were in business. And so I got any book I could on any kind of business. And I just kept practicing it and practicing it and practicing it. And, eventually, I did go back to school. I started several companies. I think I'm at 19 now. And of the 19, four of them are very robust and producing greatly and impacting communities across the country. And so I'm very pleased and proud that, my years of study produced something that is lending to the world being better. But what it also did was it shifted me from survival mode, like physically, like tangibly, from survival mode to thriving mode. Like I didn't have the same cares or concerns for how I was going to eat because that wasn't a concern anymore. I can get a meal now. I can go to the grocery store and afford to shop there now. But that's on the outside, but on the inside, I still was practicing a survival mode interiorly. Like my thinking hadn't shifted from daily lack or potential attack. And so when I talk about, surviving survival mode, what I mean is this is an interior shift that has to happen. And so a couple of ways that you can identify this is, especially in business, um, you adopt the understanding when you grow up for many, many years in survival mode that, there's the possibility that someone is out to get you. Breaking that was really hard. You live a life looking in the, over the shoulder. You live a life studying people looking for their bad instead of looking for their good. And I had to learn, I had to relearn, and I had to allow myself to see that everybody in the world wasn't a predator. But again, because I grew up this way, everybody in this world was a predator. And so I started treating people as if they were doing something or had the potential to do something by way of attack, and they weren't. And so what started happening is I would get into these new networks and have these new relationships, but the relationships wouldn't last very long, and people couldn't give me the depth of help because I was so defensive about what they were going to do to me that I couldn't see what they could do for me and with me. So again, as you're graduating from living in survival mode, one of the things that you must learn to do first is trust. I know I just said a hard thing, but I start with trusting the good until you show me the volume of trust I should be putting in you by way of good versus bad. Like someone will show you exactly who they are within 5 minutes of knowing them. And, I have people that have gone from good to not so good based on all the things that, I'm doing with my company. But it's always up to me to first look for the good, then trust my instincts as the relationship develops, evolves, strengthens, grows, heightens, or starts to decline. The second thing is have a rock solid boundary system. Now, when I say that, my boundary system has, multiple rings, but the core is the first one. Then there's a second ring, then there's a third ring, and then there's this outer ring. So the way I trust you or how the relationship has proven that it's trustworthy, those people get access to the core. And then, if there's still some question around that, but you're really good people, and we've been around each other, we've marched and we've done some things for years, that's that second ring right there. But if you're, you've done a thing or two, but you're still trying to grow, but I still can't fully trust you, but you're still good people and we're trying this thing still, that's that third ring. And then new people just get to know you, all the things, still, still growing in the relationship and building and understanding and knowing each other. That's that fourth ring. And then someone that's not proven they're trustworthy, that is new to the game, that I don't have depth of relationship with, they're on the fringe of my fourth ring. Now, here's the deal with trust in surviving survival mode as it pertains to adding people, because you got to remember, miracles come through people. Money and monetization come through people. If you have a business, it's typically dependent on the success of your product or your service with people. So you have to have a system to manage the people as you're growing out of survival mode. And so, having these people on the fringe, it's my job to monitor the people in my realm and then place them appropriately in the boundary system. And if someone in the core does something that looks like betrayal or distrust, it's my job to move them to a different ring in the boundary system. Even if someone who's on the third ring and they're constantly showing up, loving you, supporting you, being someone who's clearly trustworthy, I can shift them to the core of my boundary system. But ultimately, that whole trust and people, you want a system where you can place people. Otherwise, if you're in survival mode, you stay singular. And there's only so much you can do by yourself. So if you're looking to shift out of survival mode and get into thriving mode, listen, it's gonna take you working with other people. So if you're one of those people that are looking to graduate from living in survival mode and you're thinking especially, you're gonna have to learn how to trust people. I will offer that, one of the things that living a life in survival mode for many, many years produced in me is a fight. Like, I hear the fight bell and I come out of the corner. I don't ask questions. I just start swinging. And that points to, when you're in a situation where you have to fight or flight for your life, my instinct has never been flight. It's always been, well, you better start throwing blows. Now, I will throw a blow before I'll say a word. Back then, when I was in survival mode, today I don't practice that. In fact, I still hang on to the skill and the ability of fight, but I fight for rather than fight with. And, when I say fight for, I fight for the rights of other people. I fight for other people having a better life. I fight for the betterment of my family, my lifestyle, my legacy. I fight for, but when I was in survival mode, I was fighting with, and I was fighting with people. I was fighting with myself. I was fighting with my family. I was fighting with, government systems. I was fighting with things. And you want to recognize when you're fighting with and learn to shift it for what are you fighting for? Because again, that's another thing that will help you graduate from being in survival mode is you're not fighting with everything and everybody all the time. Number one, it's exhausting. Number two, it's stressful. And number three, it'll position you in the world very much alone. Now, I watch people do this. They will go through seasons of their lives where this person is the reason they're not making it. This person is I hear this all day. It's the white man, or it's my mom because she was a bad mom. It was my friend who betrayed me. It was my ex-husband because he did da 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 da. Well, if it's always somebody else you're fighting that is the reason that you're not making it, then maybe you're living in survival mode and maybe you need to take a look at yourself. Maybe these people are not really fighting with you. I did a lot of shadow boxing. Like, I was not necessarily fighting with people on the outside. I was with people on the inside. Like, I would have full on arguments with someone and they weren't even there. And so, that fighting with piece, I could see that it opened the door for blame because of shame. And instead of fighting for what I wanted in survival mode, I was fighting with all these people, whether they were present or just in my mind. I'm shadow boxing, but all of which never got me anywhere. It only kept me in a place of bitter and challenge, and it never brought me to the place of sobriety in seeing that maybe it's not all these people. Maybe because I'm in survival mode, I'm making it about all these people. Maybe really what I should be fighting is me and my thinking. And so, the fight, I used it, but in the other direction for the good, for the better, for the best. And so, as you're dealing with graduating from survival mode or just identifying whether you're not in it, take a look at how you fight. You fight dirty with other people that ain't even there. Like I did. I mean, I used to come up with the best arguments. And, and they were nowhere near, they never even heard my good arguments. And so I decided to make that shift. It wasn't working for me, it was actually working against me. And it's another way for me to identify when I've let some of that survival mode leak in to my life of thriving. And it helps me autocorrect. I shift my GPS just like that. The other thing is, trust your instincts. I think that when you grow up in survival mode, you start to question you. And that's where insecurity comes from. That's where low self-esteem comes from, is when you don't have an organic belief in what you see and what your instincts suggest and how you see people and how you agree with yourself. And I remember you just having such low self-esteem that I would believe what other people told me about me before I would believe what I knew to be true about me. And so, as you're shifting out of survival mode, one of those things is learning to trust you, not just people, but learning to trust you. Trust what you see when you look at something. Trust what you see when you look at your dreams, and really reinforce the fact that you can have what you see, and believe in you in a way that causes you to invest in you. And what does that look like? Like, Okay, if you have money coming in, put it towards you, your business. Like not a a bag. I think that sometimes when you're in survival mode, it's easy to look for people to help you. You want people to help you survive, help you out of this mess, rescue you. Oh my gosh, like rescue ranger syndrome. That's a whole nother podcast. But when you're in thriving mode, you're not looking for the rescue, you're looking to rescue. You're looking to help somebody up. You're looking to invest in somebody by investing and growing in your company. You're willing to take a chance on what you believe to be a dream or a goal. It really postures you in a way that you can take some rock solid risks that will pay off for you in the end. So the more you do the things that will lend to the growth and the health of your self-confidence, your self-awareness, the stronger you'll be able to show up in your dreams, in your goals that you're seeing. Now, I will tell you, a kryptonite to all of that is not knowing, not contributing, not doing, and allowing the survival thinking that I don't have enough, I'll never be strong enough, or one, I'm going to die if, like having that sort of stuff, that will erode anything that looks like big, better, best to you. And so an antidote to that is shedding light on the things that you are good at, that you are doing right, that are healthy, that do make you happy, that make you feel good, that make you feel joy. Joy every day is a humongous a light or blocker or pusher outer of the survival mode thinking, because it stops you from settling into a dark place of I'm never going to make it, and there's the potential that I won't be here tomorrow, or there's the potential that I won't have enough for tomorrow. And joy keeps you grateful, it keeps you happy, it keeps you emotionally well. And so again, trusting in you, trusting your instincts, and letting those things guide you step by step in the direction of your best, even if it's different from everything you know. You trust yourself and just keep going in the direction of better. Another thing I want to add is protect, and this is from business. I've learned this over time, but your reputation is very important. And I guess we could say this personally because everybody's on social media building a brand, but I equate this to business. It's your job to be protective of you, the brand, or your company, the brand. And so when you're shifting out of survival mode and you're looking to get into thrive mode, you really want to be protective of the reputation of the brand. And that may mean you got to talk different, you got to look different, you got to walk different. You may have to get some different associations. Don't be mad at me, but you might have to get some different associations because these associations still live in something that you're trying to get out of. So you want to find the people that are thriving the way you see yourself thriving in your dreams and your goals, and be very protective as you build. You're building something special. You're building something new. You're building something different. You're building a lifestyle that you've never lived before, that you don't know anybody around you that's really lived before. But because you're building something special, I promise you this, you want to also be in the practice of building something protective around what you're building, so that the penetration of you're not going to have enough, especially in your thinking, you got to fortify your thinking so that you don't even let that thinking come into this new space, because it's a contaminant. And if you think about it like this, you have a glass of water, it's crystal clear, there's nothing in it. You put one drop of black ink in it, one wrong thought in that crystal clear, beautiful glass of water, and what happens? The entire thing is contaminated. So you want to build something protective around the lifestyle, the brand that you're building. And, a couple of ways I do that is, number one, I watch association. One wrong word can shift your thinking in the wrong direction. Your paradigm will change. So I keep my associations very, very tight, and I'm very conscious and aware of the words that I'm allowing to be spoken by way of a narrative over my life, or even in my present. I even have it sometimes where people say a thing like, I'm broke. I will correct it right out loud. I fight words with words. I'm broke. I have more than enough. I'm winning, baby. Because otherwise, that one statement will be like a drop of black ink in this crystal clear, beautiful thing that I just built and filled up. And it'll be very hard to decontaminate it. You got to empty it out and start all over again. And I promise you, you don't want to do that. You don't want to hit the top and then go back to the bottom and then have to climb to the top again. The second thing I do is I write things down pretty consistently, and I spend a lot of time with the things that I'm building on paper so that I'm very clear about my map by way of protective. So when something presents itself that doesn't align with the roadmap that I wrote out, that I dreamed up, that I documented, I don't even give it time or space. And sometimes you can give something space, not realizing you gave it space. And anything that you give space can fill that space over time. It can get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So if it's not documented here, my map, because I'm the architect that I wrote out what I want my dream, my goal, my life to look like, then I don't give it space. And some people sometimes think, that's a rude thing, or I'm cutting them off, or, I'm not respecting, somebody come to me, some business idea, and it's like, I can't even, like, I gave that 47 minutes and that was like 46 minutes too much. I literally listened to these people with their business pitch for 47 minutes, and I think I gave them 46 minutes too many. I shouldn't have gave it space, but I did it as a courtesy to a friend, which I now know I cannot extend that courtesy to these people anymore because I gave them space for something that was ridiculous. And they will come out of the woodworks for you, especially as you keep climbing and growing and changing and thriving. They will come out of the woodworks. It is your job to fortify your brand. It's your job to protect your space. It's your job to make sure that you're not giving space to something that's not in alignment with what you've architected. So again, as you're coming, into the realization that you've been in survival mode, you're one of those people that I don't have enough, I'm not going to have enough, I don't be enough, and I don't got enough, then I'm firmly suggesting that you do what it takes, and your instincts know, whether it's education, whether it's information, whether it's taking action steps, whether it's association, you know what you have to do to shift. You organically know. I'm recommending you do the thing. You do the thing and you shift so that you can start living the life that you dream of. Otherwise, everything has a window. The time is getting like this, and the time for people to act is getting shorter and shorter. And I'm finding that the more you hesitate, you lose. Remember that statement. You hesitate, you lose. Take a step in the direction of the better or the best for you, and abandon the idea that there's not enough. Abandon the idea that you'll live in lack. Like, you have to give those ideas permission to go so that you have permission to grow. So, this is the beginning, I guess, of something that I want to talk about. I'm still living different levels and growing to different levels. So maybe I'll come back and share a little bit more. But in the meantime, make sure you're writing down the list of who you desire to ultimately become and the lifestyle you desire to actually live. And then get in agreement with yourself that you're not going to live in survival mode, that debt's not your friend, and you have more than enough, and there are enough resources, and you have enough talent and creativity to monetize them. And then thirdly, put some comments in here. If you got some ideas to help me, other people, my friends, the people that watch this, people all over the country, like, put them in the chat. Like, be one of those generous people that is willing to share wisdom, because this is about a community of people that really want to grow and really want to go and do that thing that they were designed and sent and built to do in this planet. So if you haven't already, share this with somebody that you think is going to help, and like it. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't done that already. Really, really let me know that you're out there and you listening, and this is kind of helping you a little bit. And until next time, make sure you are intentional, very intentional about what you're giving space to here, so that everything here grows and starts to display the power and the goodness that's in you, and so that everybody else can see how amazing you are and hopefully learn from you as we're learning from each other. So enjoy your time and grow and blossom until we meet again. Bye-bye.